deadlines are a direct response to the logic of Parkinson's law, and Parkinson's law argues that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Karl, we're coming up for Christmas. And there seems to be a few people around us that are really struggling with a bit of extra pressure around Christmas deadlines. We know it gets to this time of year, it's real hectic. And a lot of those Christmas deadlines have got me thinking, how many of them are self-imposed? And if you've ever worked in retail or service industry, that Christmas rush, when I worked in retail, I couldn't handle this type of time of year because everybody's so stressed and rushed and people have unrealistic expectations. Quite often they're things that people have procrastinated all year, and then all of a sudden Christmas becomes this deadline. Are you experiencing the same type of things?
So dealing with deadlines and Christmas, or deadlines in general, yeah, 100%. I think a lot of it around deadlines is, especially around Christmas. Let's talk about Christmas first, right? So you got people who are going to check out because they're dreaming about their vacation. You got people who are going to go and bail off early and leave 2 weeks earlier than everyone else because they want that super long holiday over Christmas. And then you got people that are working from home. I'm kind of already in holiday modes probably because there's so many Christmas parties, friends catching up with friends, all that kind of element. So it's so they want to set these unrealistic deadlines, and they know every year people start leaving early and whatnot, but they're still trying to push for these deadlines, and they're unrealistic.
So do you think that work deadlines come out of that sort of desire to keep people focused on work and to make sure that they're working up to the last minute? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, so I get the point of them, but I can't think of a time back when I was working the corporate days where something just didn't get pushed down to where you'll come back.
Yeah. It's that arbitrary deadline. So it's an interesting topic, and we were talking about Christmas deadlines, and it got me thinking about deadlines in terms of productivity. So do deadlines work? Do deadlines make us more productive? Do they get more done? Are they a good thing? And then that sort of started leading me into thinking about learning as well. But deadlines are a direct response to the logic of Parkinson's law, and Parkinson's law argues that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. So if you have a project that has no deadline, you will never complete that project. And that's kind of probably true. You and I have definitely fallen down that trap, but plenty of times where we have a piece of work where we are constantly refining and constantly moving on because the deadline hasn't been fixed, so.
Anytime someone says, oh, we'll do that in a fortnight, and not actually said that is just as a start point or whatever, that just it never gets started, right? Because exactly. Yeah. The deadline's not actually a deadline; it's a start line. And then
which brings the point of milestones and deadlines. So I think in productivity, quite often it's the milestones to get to the end point that become much more, defining what those milestones are and knowing the steps in which you need to take to be able to complete a project become far more important than complete this by that date, this by that, maybe not. But
I found breaking tasks or deadlines into milestones, it's basically my life jacket. Because if I don't do that and figure out what needs to be done and what I can do and what I can start, I'll never start, and I'll just drown in the complexity and trying to get other things to get done. But it also gives you a bit of degree of control. Once you kind of know what the steps are, you can start saying, well, this can't be done on this time frame because it takes 6 months to do or whatever.
Yeah, and that's one of the real benefits of a deadline is it helps you define what's possible. So if you're saying this job is we've got 3 weeks to complete this job, as opposed to we've got 3 years to complete this job. Whatever the job is, you know what you're going to get. The problem is when people say we want to complete this 3-year job in 3 days is where we get so what about in learning? So we use deadlines in learning quite a bit, particularly in online learning, but also in the classroom. And one of the sort of, I guess, downsides to putting a deadline on learning or to put timing into learning is that you're taking away the ability for the learner to engage in the content at their own pace. And, this is one of the real downfalls of face-to-face and classroom learning is that the classroom experience is in the timing of the teacher or the session, not the timing of the learner. And but there's other times where maybe deadlines have to happen just out of common sense. It's very hard to run a school or accreditation if you've got these open-ended sort of courses or open-ended windows. So what's your opinions about deadlines and learning, and do they help or do they hinder?
So these two things I think we really need to kind of define first is deadlines are only as good as how well you enforce them, right? So I think the problem when we talked about Christmas deadlines is if everyone knows that if you faff around, it's just going to get pushed out to next January, then it's not a deadline, it's just a fake deadline, right? Like it's just it's a deadline to make it look like everyone's working on it. But if everyone knows it doesn't mean anything, they're never going to hit it. Same with learning, right? So if you have these fake deadlines and everyone knows it's fake, they're not gonna complete the course content because they'll get an extension or they'll help me find the answers on the last day so I pass.
Yeah.
I think really enforcing a deadline, and then I actually think they're great for learning, especially as long as you're giving. And again, this is the thing about knowing the content is how much time do you need to give someone to complete it, give them that deadline to get it complete.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in giving a deadline because it actually gives more value to what they're learning if you say get it, prove it by this date so you can continue to the next steps.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it helps people get momentum, but you've really got that fine line in the balance between the course then becoming about completion rather than real learning. So if you've got 6 weeks, for example, to complete a course and you get really interested in one certain aspect, you might not take the time to go into that and delve deeper and look further and sort of get lost in that little rabbit hole because you're trying to finish the course, because you've got that limitation there. So I guess it's a tough one because how we want adult learners to take responsibility for their own journey and to be able to really guide their own learning path.
I totally get, but I'll turn that around a little bit is if you're in that mindset and you do fall down that rabbit hole and you do want to extend it out, well, we just need to have the communication that you can talk to whoever's developed the course to say, you have time to complete it, and these are the reasons why.
Or take it into your out of course time, of course. Some learners will do that.
Just out over the weekend because that's what you want to do.
But a lot of because everybody are just nerds like us. Like learning every day. And,
I'm just gonna learn it all about on the weekend because
thanks for sharing your insights around this topic today as well, Karl. Deadlines is it's something that we kind of most of us dread, but I'm a procrastinator, so I need a good deadline every now and then, or I'd never get anything done.
I'm going to say exactly the same thing. Someone who loves deadlines are the procrastinators because you're getting a forced deadline makes you get the job done. Some people don't need deadlines; they just I want to get it done by this date. I need a real deadline. I don't need these fake throwaway deadlines.
And I think that's a really great place to leave it. Let's not impose those silly Christmas deadlines on each other, but let's actually make sure we're keeping our deadlines on the things that are important to us. Thanks very much.
See you.